What steps can the WHO take to ensure better outcomes and measurable impact in its efforts to reduce smoking rates globally?
Well, I'm an advocate for harm reduction, and unfortunately the WHO isn't in favour of harm reduction in this area. They're good on harm reduction for drugs, but for some reason they have a blind spot on harm reduction when it comes to tobacco and nicotine. The safer nicotine products are available on the market and people are choosing them, but the WHO for some reason is implacably opposed, despite the potential for saving millions of lives if people would switch away from combustible tobacco onto far safer nicotine alternatives.
WHO has shifted its focus from tackling tobacco smoke harms to fighting nicotine itself. How do you think this impacts public health outcomes?
Yeah, they have a Framework Convention of Tobacco Control treaty, which was originally written to tackle the harms of cigarette smoking or tobacco smoking. But now they've pivoted away from that. They almost don't talk about tobacco smoking anymore. They just seem to have turned it into an anti-nicotine crusade. And nicotine isn't the harmful element of smoking, it's the combustion, the tar and the smoke. So if you can take the nicotine and have it in a safer form, then that's far less harmful. But the WHO seems to just be ideologically opposed to nicotine for no real good reason.
Certain companies invented even oral pouches with nicotine that don't relate to tobacco at all. What is your opinion about this form of product?
Well, I use them, so yeah, and they're good. You just put them under your top lip or your bottom lip, and it acts just like a nicotine patch, which the WHO is quite happy with. But it just puts the nicotine into your bloodstream in a controlled manner. They're not as effective as smoking. Unfortunately, this is the problem: is that smoking gives you an instant blast, a heavy hit of nicotine. Whereas the nicotine pouch, it takes a while for it to get into the system. But once people can get used to that, it's a far safer form and there's no tobacco involved. And yet, once again, for some reason, the WHO is opposed to those too. It has been said that it's a stimulant and it's good for cognitive abilities, you know, your brain and attention and things like that. With cigarettes, it took a long time to find out they were harmful because you would talk about science in the 1950s and the 1960s. But with the technology we've got today, we can see from biomarkers of exposure and what ingredients are in these products that they are going to be vastly less harmful. We don't have to wait 30 or 40 years. You know this. If smoking was invented today, we'd know within about a week or so that it was harmful and they would probably ban it. But we have enough information to know that these are vastly safer products. Well, we've had a natural experiment going on for some time now down in with New Zealand and Australia. Australia have effectively banned vaping products, whereas New Zealand has embraced them for a way of helping people quit smoking. And the smoking rates in New Zealand have plummeted as people have switched to vaping, whereas in Australia they've flatlined and there's no real decline in smoking because they're taking away the alternatives. So we've seen that over there, and then we also see a natural experiment in Europe where Sweden is allowed to sell snus in that country, because when they joined the European Union they had an option, they carved out an option to say we won't join if we can't sell snus, because they realise it's a good way of helping people to quit smoking. So the whole of the EU has got a ban on snus, but not Sweden. And what we see now is Sweden has by far the lowest smoking rate in the EU, whereas the rest of Europe is lagging behind. And that could be because they're not offered the products that could help them quit smoking, such as snus, are not available to them where they are in Sweden.